Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. During the late 60s and early 70s, times were tough for the people at the Disney studios ever since Walt Disney, the man who started it all, and he created a mouse, he made dreams come true, sadly passed away in 1966. They were left questioning what were they going to do? What were they going to do without the man who started this all, who was like a father to everyone? Well, sure enough, they managed to continue on, keep moving forward, best said by Walt himself. And this Disney animated feature film that I'm reviewing would be one of the very last Disney materials that Walt would personally approve on. And that being, from 1970, the Aristocats. Yes, the Aristocats, an underrated Disney gem/masterpiece. I'd say so. And again, this being the very first Disney animated feature film without Walt being involved, and like I said, he gave it a go, he approved on this, but unfortunately, he didn't live to see this happen, as well as some of the other projects that he approved on, like most notably The Jungle Book, and the last live-action feature film that he was personally involved with, and that being The Happiest Millionaire. Yeah, just many projects like The Aristocats, The Love Bug, Blackbeard's Ghosts, all of these projects in the late 60s and early 70s that he never lived to see, but he, of course, approved on. Yeah. So, The Aristocats, like I said, this being the first animated feature film to come out after Walt's death, alongside with The Jungle Book. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with The Aristocats. It was one of those classic Disney animated feature films that I would watch nonstop when I was little. And golly, I just remember so much of, how this Disney animated feature film is so memorable and fantastic. So, as always, read the description / the story. When a retired opera singer leaves her inheritance to her cat, Duchess, and 3 kittens, the woman's butler drugs the cats and abandons them in the countryside in order to inherit the fortune himself. Lost in unfamiliar territory, Duchess and the kittens meet Thomas O'Malley, an alley cat willing to help them return to their home in Paris. They meet several kooky characters along the way, including 2 English geese and an alley cat jazz band. First off, the opening song number to the film, the Aristocats theme song, just titled The Aristocats, sung by the late legendary French singer Maurice Chevalier. I had to do it in my French accent. Maurice Chevalier, fun fact about Maurice Chevalier, he was the #1 French singer in the world, and Maurice had worked with the Sherman Brothers' father in the 1930s, and most notably, Maurice sang one of the Sherman Brothers' dad's songs, Living in the Sunlight. And fun fact, because Living in the Sunlight was written by the Sherman Brothers' dad. So I bet you didn't know that. And yeah, in the late 60s, Maurice soon retired, but when it came to the Aristocats, the director, Willie Reitherman, convinced Maurice, along with the Sherman Brothers, both Willie Reitherman and the Sherman Brothers, I should say, they convinced Maurice to come out of retirement to sing the Aristocats song, both in English and French. And this was talked about by Richard Sherman himself at a D23 expo. And Richard also explained that, he told Wooly Reitherman that he can't sing it in a French accent because his French accent is terrible, and Wooly just encouraged him to do so, and they sent the tape to Maurice to see if he would be convinced and, interested in doing the song. Sure enough, he did, and then months after the film came out, Richard Sherman and his wife met with Maurice. They ran into him, and Richard Sherman introduced himself to Maurice and talking about, the Aristocats and the song, and Maurice, because Maurice saying to Richard Sherman, I loved doing this. I love Walt Disney, as Richard explained what Maurice said. And Richard Sherman then apologized to Maurice for that phony French accent that Richard Sherman did in that demo of the song. And according to Richard, Maurice looked him right in the eyes and said, "Accent? I heard no accent." That was pretty funny. So I just thought I'd share that because, well, it's true. So, yeah, but the song number is pretty good, of course, and catchy, and with the opening credits, and then, of course, we see Paris in 1910, and 1910, 2 years before Titanic. I just thought I'd throw that out because facts are facts. It's true. So, yeah. So with Paris in 1910, we of course have our main cast of characters, most of them, Madame and Madam, and that's all she's called, and that's how she's credited. Madame being voiced by the late Hermione Baddeley, if I'm saying her last name right. Yeah. And of course the cats, we have Duchess being voiced by the late Ava Gabor, and her 3 kittens, Berlioz, Maria, and Toulouse. Yeah, and Berlioz being voiced by Dean Clark, Marie being voiced by Liz English, yeah, and Toulouse being voiced by Gary Dubbin, I think it's Dubbin, probably. And we also have Frou Frou, the horse, being voiced by the late Nancy Culp, if I'm saying that the last name right. And Edgar the butler, who at one point, because of, overhearing about the fortune, and he thinks it's going to be going to him, but at first it's going to the cats, but more on that in just a few minutes. Edgar the butler, being voiced by Roddy Maud Rogsby, if I'm saying his middle name right. Yeah. So again, Edgar the butler to Madame, as she's called. And Madame is expecting company very soon, and that being Madame's lawyer, George, and that's how his name is said, George. And but he's credited as lawyer, being voiced by the late Charles Lane. Yeah, Charles Lane. And George is pretty funny because when he arrives in his automobile and singing Ta-ra-ra boom die, and that one scene between him and Edgar and trying to go up the stairs, and Edgar, offering to George, could we take the elevator this time? And him going on saying, that elevator's for old people. Because, well, I mean, if he wants to go up the stairs, then fine. But he does have some assistance from Edgar. It's pretty funny. And then, George and Madame seeing each other again, and a funny moment where they're dancing to a record player, of music. It was funny. And then it comes to business, and, well, and as I read the description / story, Madame wanting to give her fortune, at first, even like George thinks, it's Edgar that's going to get the fortune, but no, it's her cats that are going to get the fortune first. And then at the end of their lifespan, according to Madame, then the inheritance / fortune will go to Edgar. And again, Edgar overhearing this, and he gets really upset the fact that the cats are getting the heritage first, and he comes last. And, him going on, and oh my gosh, like the animation in this, like, I don't care what people say. I think the animation in the Aristocats is really good. And, because of the budget of this movie, and for this being in the early 70s, it's understandable. Like, bear with this movie, And the facial expressions that Edgar gives throughout the film, especially when he hears that the cats are getting the heritage first, and he comes last, and, cats! It's funny. And him just going on, it's not fair, and he's counting, like, the lifespan of the cats, and, 4 times 12s, and, because of how long they'll live, and then when it comes to him, and, him going, I'll be gone. It's funny. But then he gets an evil idea to basically get rid of the cats, and thus the fortune will go to him immediately. And, you know, just like money coming out of his eyes, you know, all of the dollars, millions. So, and also like his pants, because at one point his pants were ripped, and that was pretty funny. Yeah, and at the Madame's house, because the scenes with Duchess and her kittens, and how the kittens can get rambunctious with each other, especially because, you know, Marie wanting to be treated like a lady, you know, I'm a lady. So that's pretty funny. And, like, we see Talulus working on his painting, and Berlioz like taking piano lessons, and with Maria singing, and yeah, that song number that they sing. Yeah, but we'll get to the song numbers at one point, at a certain point in this review video, as you're watching. And Edgar, while the cats are doing their own business, as I just said, Edgar serving them their cream dish? Yeah, cream dish. And he slips in, well, some drugs, as I read in the description/story, to conk them out for the evening. And he does so, and he was almost about to take a sip of it. That was pretty funny. So then we see Edgar giving the kittens and Duchess their favorite cat dishes, and, you know, it's pretty funny, because Edgar, like, saying, sleep well, I mean, eat well. And then we get the appearance of another one of the main characters, Roquefort, a mouse, being voiced by the late legendary, and need I say, Disney legend, Sterling Holloway. And, yeah, and this being one of his, last Disney films that he would do, alongside with reprising the voice role of Winnie the Pooh for new pieces of animation footage for the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. So Roquefort joining in, like, he brings out a cracker, dipping it in one of their dishes, and by doing that, because, well, that would conk him out for the night, and it starts to have an effect on them, making them, you know, get sleepy. And yeah, that was pretty funny. And for Roquefort, if I hope I am saying his name correctly, I think, you know, Roquefort. So, Roquefort. Okay, all right. So, after that, later that night, Edgar, now that Duchess and the three kittens are conked out for the evening, he puts them in a basket, and, you know, hopping on his motorcycle. I love the sound effects of the motorcycle. There's just something about the sound effects of Edgar's motorcycle that's just really cool. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Certain sound effects that you come to like, and you just love to listen to. I mean, best examples, the T-Rex roar from Jurassic Park, the lightsabers. You know what I'm saying. So yeah. Edgar taking them out in the evening, and again, just throwing them out in the countryside, abandoning them there. But even before he's going to do that, and as he's far away from where he was in Paris, well, he awakens two dogs, and those two dogs named Napoleon and Lafayette. Napoleon being voiced by the late legendary Pat Buttram, and Lafayette being voiced by the late legendary George Lindsay, and he be best known for his role as Gober Pyle in The Andy Griffith Show. But also, both him and Pat Buttram, after doing the Aristocats, they would go on to do two more Disney films together, and as we all know, to us Disney fans, Pat Buttram would be the voice of the Sheriff of Nottingham, and George Lindsay would be the voice of Trigger, a vulture, in Robin Hood. And then, a few years later, in the mid/late 70s, they would have two voice roles in The Rescuers. Pat Buttram would voice Luke, and George Lindsay would voice Rabbit. I mean, you know, that's what the character's name is and how he's credited in The Rescuers. Yeah, the Rabbit. So, yeah. And of course, Pat Buttram, he would go on to voice a couple of other characters in other Disney films, like the Chief in The Fox and the Hound. Yeah, that's him. So yeah, Napoleon and Lafayette, they hear the sounds of a motorcycle, and basically these two dogs have chased 4 motorbikes and a scooter. They've chased a lot of vehicles with wheels, and thus this time it's a new vehicle with different wheels and sounds to it. And Napoleon just listening to it. It's a motorcycle, 2-cylinder, chain drive, 1 squeaky wheel on the front. It sounds like, yeah. Napoleon, Lafayette, they were definitely like 2 memorable characters in this film, and especially their delivery of dialogue and the chemistry between the 2 dogs, and even like say Napoleon sometimes saying, "I'm the leader, I'll say when we go," or "I'll say when it's the end." That's funny. And that hilarious motorcycle chase, just them like going after Edgar, that was pretty funny. And the music to that. And yeah, let's come to the music. The music being written and scored by the late legendary composer of Disney music, George Bruns. Like, as I've gone on talking about George Bruns, like, George Bruns in the Aristocats, the music that he did for the Aristocats, I should say, fantastic. And this piece of music with the motorcycle chase is one of the best examples, I tell ya. It's funny, and it's just really good. George Bruns, he was the man, and one of the top best composers of Disney music. And so after the motorcycle chase, and if you noticed, Edgar lost part of the motorcycle, the one-wheeled part, and lost his hat and umbrella. Now the 2 dogs have those. So he escaped, and he left. And before the motorcycle chase began, just as it was about to begin, the basket with Duchess and the 3 kittens, like, the basket was flown out of the motorcycle, and it landed down below a bridge. And then we see Duchess out of the basket. Obviously, she was still conked out, and she wakes up, and she's shocked to see that she's not home. And the cat, the 3 kittens are spread out, and they just don't know what to do at first, and terrified by the lightning and thunder, and then it starts to rain. And then we come back to Madame, who wakes up from a, dreadful dream, as she says, and, coming to her cats, she thinks that they're in their special cat throne bed, and she sees that they're gone, and she's surprised and shocked and devastated, like she's wondering where they are. Then Roguefruit pops out, and he hears this, and he's surprised / shocked too that Duchess and Kittens are missing, they're gone. And Roguefruit gets on his gear that we see him wear throughout most of the film, like red cap and red coat, I want to say. Yeah, and he steps outside and in search of Duchess and the 3 kittens, and unfortunately, he's unable to find them, as, we would see Roguefruit a little bit later on. But then the next day, well, Duchess is awoken by singing, and we see one of the other main characters of this film, Thomas O'Malley. Abraham DeLacy, Giuseppe Casey, Thomas O'Malley. Yeah, I had to say his full name, and thus, he sings his full name in his song, which I assume, yeah, because that's the title. So yeah, Thomas O'Malley, being voiced by the late legendary Phil Harris. Yeah, and this being his second Disney animated feature film where he does a voice, the first being The Jungle Book, and after this, he would then go on to voice Little John in his third and last Disney animated feature film, Robin Hood. So yes, O'Malley for short, but still Thomas O'Malley. In fact, because Abraham DeLacy, Giuseppe Casey, Thomas O'Malley, it's Thomas O'Malley for short. Sometimes he's called Thomas or O'Malley. So yeah. Him singing his song, and, he meets and encounters Duchess, and it's love at first sight for both of them. And even the kittens, they wake up to the singing, and, the kittens just like O'Malley instantly. And, flirting between O'Malley and Duchess, and then the three kittens meet O'Malley, and again, all of them, five of them, all five cats, they hit it off, and, and that goes for Duchess and the three kittens, they hit it off with O'Malley, and they like him instantly, and Duchess explaining to O'Malley what's been going on with them, and O'Malley, sure enough, helps them out, and offering them a ride on a magic carpet. And what is this magic carpet that O'Malley speaks of? Well, he has Duchess and the three kittens take cover and, waiting for this magic carpet to show up. And it turns out to be a milk truck. Yeah. And Thomas O'Malley saying, "One magic carpet coming up." And he terrorizes the milkman, and it's pretty funny because the milkman, his delivery of dialogue, "Sacre bleu!" And the milkman being voiced by Peter Renaday. He's done a lot of voice acting, and for that matter, has done a lot of Disney voice acting. And Disney fans like myself would know him best as the voice of Henry, the host of Country Bear Jamboree. And so while the milkman restarts his milk truck by cranking it, and back then for vehicles, I assume, because, by cranking them up, and while he's doing that, Thomas has Duchess and the three kittens hop on what he calls the magic carpet. And at first, he says goodbye to them. Aloha, bonsoir, sorrow, saying goodbye in different languages. And Marie's saying goodbye, and she accidentally, falls out of the magic carpet. And Thomas quickly, picks her up and gets her back on the magic carpet. And Thomas, of course, catches the ride. He joins in and, rides with them on the magic carpet, and it's pretty funny because, haven't we met before? That's what he says to Duchess. And then Duchess explains to Thomas about their owner, Madame, and how much Madame really cares about them, and, she would once again tell Thomas about Madame and how much Madame really loves and cares for Duchess and her three kittens. And then we see Roquefort interacting with Frou-Frou, and Frou-Frou being aware of Duchess and the kittens gone missing, and Roquefort had no luck trying to find Duchess and the three kittens. And sure enough, Edgar steps in, obviously, I guess, to feed Frou-Frou, and Edgar interacting and talking with Frou-Frou, "Can you keep a secret?" "Of course you can." And basically he gives it away to Frou-Frou, and with Roquefort hearing this as well, that Edgar, of course, being responsible for the cats going missing, and, it was on the newspaper, look, Frou-Frou, I made the headlines. Mysterious catnapper abducts family of cats, showing the newspaper. And Frou-Frou and Roquefort, they find out, and even Roquefort saying, "So, he's the catnapper." And Edgar, just his dialogue, "The police said it was a professional, masterful job, the work of a genius. Not bad, eh, Frou-Frou?" Girl, and hits Frou-Frou on her butt, and she just neighs, and sends Roquefort flying, and bag of horse food, I want to say, and Edgar going on about how proud he is of himself, and, at one point he says, "Why, I eat my hat," and then it hits him that, because he lost his hat and umbrella. My hat, my umbrella! Oh, gracious! I've got to get those things back tonight. You know, he's just so desperate to get them back. And I love Frou Frou's facial expressions, like, and the facial expressions, how pissed off she is at Edgar. It's pretty good. And Rogue Frou just spitting out the horse food and, you know, why that no good, you confounded butler. It's funny. And then coming back to O'Malley, Duchess, and the three kittens on the magic carpet, and O'Malley saying to the kittens, anyone for breakfast? And telling them to close their eyes, and voila, their breakfast, and that being milk. And thus, them drinking the milk, and Duchess complimenting on O'Malley, and O'Malley, saying, true. And then the milk man sees through the rear view window, up top, and he sees the cats behind his truck, and he just steps on the brakes, and it sends O'Malley flying and landing, covering his eyes. Sacre bleu! Like, it's funny, and then he scares them off. Thieves, rodents, magic tramps, take that and that! And that was pretty funny, and even, Talulu's, like, trying to scare off the milkman, That was pretty funny. And yeah, because the milkman called them tramps, and Talulu saying, but he called us tramps. And then, after that, then they stumble upon train tracks, and thus, walking on the train tracks, and the three kittens pretending to be the train. And Talulu's saying directly to Maria, raise the caboose, and you see the look on Marie's face. She's not pleased. And thus they're pretending to be a train, and Talulu's pretending, to be, going woo woo. And even right when he said that, an actual train is coming, and they have to, get down on the train tracks as this passes by. Pretty intense, and for them. And accidentally, Marie fell into the river, and O'Malley, saving the day, rescuing Marie, that is, bringing her up to shore, and O'Malley still out there in the river, and, and telling them that he'll see them downriver, etc. And then we come to two other memorable characters in the film who are not cats. Like, we had the two dogs, of course. Well, now we have two geese. Their names, Abigail and Amelia. Abigail being voiced by Monica Evans, and Amelia being voiced by the late Carol Shelley? Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Abigail and Amelia, they come across and meet with Thomas O'Malley, and they see that Thomas O'Malley is having trouble, like, trying to get to shore, and he can't really swim. And Abigail and Amelia, they try to give Thomas O'Malley swimming lessons, but nothing is working for Thomas. He can't swim. And then, of course, like, Abigail and Amelia realize that because he's not coming back up to the surface, the water surface, he's gonna drown, and thus they save him. And thus, Duchess and the three kittens, they find and meet up with Thomas, who's just been rescued by Abigail and Amelia, and thus Abigail, Amelia, and Duchess and the three kittens, they all meet, and, just funny chemistry between all of them. And sure enough, Abigail and Amelia offer to help Duchess, the three kittens, and along with O'Malley, get to town, to Paris. And Abigail and Amelia have the cats, like, get into different positions and to think goose, forward, march, and them waddling, and the music that accompanies them waddling, it's pretty good. And Abigail and Amelia inform Duchess, the three kittens, and O'Malley that they might meet Uncle Waldo, because when they get to town, they're gonna meet Uncle Waldo. And thus we see Uncle Waldo. At one point, he was chasing after this French chef, and Uncle Waldo being voiced by the late legendary Bill Thompson. And Bill Thompson, let me tell you, he did a lot of voice work for so many Disney animation materials, and especially when it came to the films. Like, He was the voice of King Hubert in Sleeping Beauty, Jacques the Scottish Terrier in Lady and the Tramp, and he most famously is known for being the voices of the Dodo and the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, and Mr. Smee in Peter Pan. And Uncle Waldo was one of his last voices that he did for something Disney, and one of his last films that he did before he would sadly pass away. And yeah, Uncle Waldo, he's a funny goose. A funny, hilarious, drunk goose. You could tell he's drunk. And, of course, he meets with, Abigail and Amelia, as he says, my two favorite nieces. Yeah. And it's just funny because, Abigail, Amelia. That's funny. Again, just Uncle Waldo's dialogue, his lines, the way, his voice is hilarious. Bill Thompson, for this being one of his last roles, he was excellent. He was excellent. One of his finest last voice roles. And telling Abigail and Amelia about something of Goose on the Menu, yeah, and his interactions with O'Malley, Duchess and the Three Kittens is hilarious, and Abigail and Amelia telling the cats that they're gonna take Uncle Waldo back home because of how drunk he is and so on, and they're telling him to shush, and Uncle Waldo saying, no, girls, don't shush your uncle, why, you'll wake up the whole neighborhood, whoopee! That's funny. And thus, them carrying him and walking him back home, it's funny. And, now, O'Malley, Duchess and the Three Kittens, they're now back in town, Paris, so they can proceed on making their way to where Duchess and the Three Kittens, have to get home, and so on. And it's funny because O'Malley, how he interacts with the two Goose, Abigail and Amelia, and when it came to Uncle Waldo, when as they started to leave, O'Malley, he goes on saying, something, I like Uncle Waldo. Now he does like him, and, because, Uncle Waldo, again, as I said, he's a hilarious drunk goose. How can you not like that character? And a little bit later, that same evening, we then see and come back to Rogue Fruit and Frou Frou, still in, the barn, I want to say, where Frou Frou is kept in, because Edgar, he was planning to retrieve his hat, umbrella, that evening, and thus, Edgar coming in and, hopping on his motorcycle, and his little interaction with Frou Frou, night operation is a go, wish me luck, fisherman's luck, and Rogue Fruit was going to catch a ride with Edgar on the motorcycle, but that doesn't really last long because of how fast the motorcycle's going, and it sends Rogue Fruit flying, so he misses catching a ride with Edgar, and obviously Rogue Fruit was going to try and find the cats while, riding on Edgar's motorcycle. And thus, Edgar makes his way back to that barn location where the two dogs are, Napoleon and Lafayette. Because with them having Edgar's hat, umbrella, and that piece of the motorcycle, they make something out of that stuff. Napoleon is wearing the hat, and he sleeps in the one-wheeled, piece of the motorcycle, that, and Napoleon, he's sleeping in the basket where Duchess and the Three Kittens were sleeping in. How did they know and find the basket? Well, it doesn't matter, and it's one of those things in some movies, and thus Edgar trying to sneak and trying to retrieve them, but he's also wearing squeaky shoes, and that awakens the dogs, especially Napoleon, and he's listening to them, they're Oxford shoes, size 9.5, hole in the left foot, it sounds like, and it's funny, because Lafayette, I should say, Lafayette and he asks Napoleon, what color are they? And Lafayette, yeah, I mean, Lafayette has a point when he says, how would I know that? Yeah, how would he? And at one point, the squeaking stops. He takes off the shoes. Well, yeah, because Edgar realizes that they're making squeaky loud noise. And Lafayette thinks that it was a creaky bug. And Napoleon, he says to Lafayette, I'm the leader. I'll say what it was. It was a little old cricket bug. And Edgar, with a fishing net, fishing rod. Yeah. Edgar using a fishing rod to retrieve the hat and the basket. Like, he's having no luck at first, but sure enough, he gets the hat. And even, say, distracting Napoleon while he's sleeping, giving him a back scratch. And Napoleon thinks it's Lafayette, and they're kind of talking in their sleep. And, Edgar successfully retrieves the hat, and he tries to retrieve the basket. Napoleon wakes up, and he sees that the basket is floating and with Lafayette in it. And it just gets more funny when he drops Lafayette along, in with Napoleon, and Edgar trying to retrieve the umbrella. And no luck, especially when he tumbles, and he gets the two dogs really waking up. And they realize, and they're wondering where Napoleon's hat is, and Lafayette going, where's my basket? It's funny. And so Napoleon and Lafayette trying to find out and to locate and find and see who it was that took their stuff, even though it's Edgar's. And at one point we see Lafayette, he didn't realize this, that his back paws/feet got into the squeaky shoes that Edgar owns. And, they hear the squeaky shoes again, and Lafayette getting a bit terrified by this, and Napoleon just listening for them. And at one point, because when he got under Napoleon, Lafayette, Napoleon accidentally stepped on Lafayette's ear and was trying to and then when he was really forcing himself to get his ear off of Napoleon's foot, well, that causes Napoleon to panic, and thus he panics, and they bump into each other. And then Napoleon hears, as he says, listen, sounds like a one-wheel... Oh, and Lafayette asking, a one-wheeled what? You're not gonna believe this, but it's a one-wheeled haystack. Hey, there it goes! Come on, after it! And they chase after the one-wheeled haystack. It's Edgar, of course, because he was hiding in a stack of hay, and, he got his things/items back, and with Napoleon and Lafayette chasing after Edgar in the one-wheeled haystack, fighting him in the one-wheeled haystack, and part of the haystack, got off, and, the whole haystack, and Edgar in the one-wheeled piece of the motorcycle with his belongings escapes from the two dogs, and they see him ride off on his motorcycle, and he uses the umbrella to, hold on to the one-wheeled part, and Lafayette just being... I guess you could say, kind of being stupid, I want to say, because he has his, stupid moments and what he says to Napoleon. And, every time, Napoleon just blames it on Lafayette, and Lafayette, bleh. And just, at one point, he smacked Lafayette on the head, and Lafayette's saying, ow, ooh, crime and nibbly, because obviously that hurt. So, not to mention, because at the end of the motorcycle chase, early in the film, Edgar stomped on Lafayette's paws, and that, of course, hurt. And then Lafayette chomped on Edgar's leg. That was pretty funny. And so we come back to O'Malley, Duchess, and the three kittens. They're all getting pretty tired, and O'Malley tells them that up ahead they can stay at this abandoned house. It's peaceful and quiet, but there's company in that house, and that being the gang of alley cats. Yeah, this cat jazz band, and O'Malley knows them, and they're friends of his, and we, of course, get the cast of alley cats. We have Scat Cat being voiced by the late legendary Scatman Crothers. We have a Chinese cat being voiced by the late legendary Paul Winchell, aka the original voice of Tigger. And an English cat being voiced by the late Lord Tim Hudson. Yeah, right. Try again. Being voiced by the late Lord Tim Hudson, yeah. An Italian cat being voiced by the late Vito Scotti, and the Russian cat being voiced by the late legendary Thurl Ravenscroft, yeah. And fun fact on Scat Cat, because he originally was going to be voiced by the late legendary Louis Armstrong, but unfortunately Louis had to drop out because at that point he was not feeling too well, and thus Scatman replaced Louis. And yeah, because what Scatman Crothers brought to the character of Scat Cat, pretty good. And yeah, I mean, and when you look at the dance movements of Scat Cat, it's the same, like, dance movements, and with him playing the trumpet, you know, copied from Louis Armstrong. And I would assume that Scat Cat was going to be originally, you know, his name was going to be something related to Louis Armstrong, but then when Scatman Crothers stepped in, they now called him Scat Cat. So that's my guess. I think I might be right there. And also, another fun fact, and coincidentally, Scatman Crothers and Louis Armstrong would be in another movie that's a musical, but it's live action. And yeah, this coming out a year before the Aristocats, that being Hello, Dolly, if anybody remembers Scatman and Louis Armstrong in Hello, Dolly. Scat Cat and the gang of alley cats, they're happy and excited to see O'Malley, and O'Malley introducing Duchess and the three kittens to Scat Cat and the alley cats. And yeah, they all seem to like each other very well, and good chemistry between all of them. And of course, sure enough, we get one of the most famous songs of this film, I should say. Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. Like, it's such a memorable song, but more on that later on when I talk about the songs, that is. And yeah, then like towards the end of the song, like even when at one point Duchess sang did a bit of lovely singing on a harp, and then it went back to jamming and such, and Scat Cat and the Alley Cats, they left, and when they left, because the piano was falling down on the tall building, and when they step out and they leave, their instruments are broken. It's pretty funny, but still, they're still playing and making it really catchy and to the beat. So O'Malley, Duchess, and the three kittens alone there, and the three kittens go to bed, and a pretty good romantic conversation that O'Malley and Duchess have, and possibly if O'Malley is to be the three kittens' official father, and if O'Malley and Duchess are going to be together. But, well, because when it comes back to, talking about Madame, and, they have to go home. They have to go back to, their owner, and, of course, that being Madame. Madame, again, as that's all she's called in this movie. We never know her actual name. I'm not sure if Disney ever confirmed what her actual name is. I think there have been a few Disney characters where how they're named, and we sometimes don't know their actual names. So it gets a bit upsetting for O'Malley and Duchess, and even the three kittens, because, they overhear this, and, it seems like O'Malley and Duchess, they may not get together, because, again, they have to go home, and O'Malley has to say goodbye to them. And so the next day, they finally make their back to Madame's house, And Edgar, we see Edgar enjoying himself in the house because very soon he'll have the fortune. And Rogue Fruit, like, he, sees Edgar and, he's like, oh no, Edgar, I've got to do something quick. And, tying up Edgar's shoes because Rogue Fruit saw Duchess and the three kittens make their way back to the house, and, Rogue Fruit had to do something. And again, he ties Edgar's shoelaces, and even Edgar, like, opening a bottle of wine, and the cork, pops out and it hits Rogue Fruit. That was pretty funny, and his delivery of dialogue after it hits him, he goes, "Oh, he got me!" That's funny. And thus, the three kittens, they race to the door. It's locked, and Marie tells them, let's all stop meowing. And Edgar, of course, hears them meowing, and he spits out, the wine, and, it can't be them. He gets up, and of course, he tumbles because of the shoelaces that were tied, thanks to Rogue Fruit. And Rogue Fruit trying to warn them to not come in and to go away because Edgar is present. But, the three kittens can't understand what Rogue Fruit is saying, and they think that he's excited to see them. And Duchess and O'Malley, they say goodbye to one another, and thus Edgar opens the door for them, and just Edgar greeting them, Duchess, kittens, where have you been? And sure enough, he puts a sack over them, like putting them in a sack even when Rogue Fruit was saying, look out for that! And he trips, and, then when they get in the sack, you hear them meow, and Rogue Fruit just says, sack! He didn't get to finish his sentence. And O'Malley, sadly, walking away, and him saying, well, guess they won't be needing me anymore. And O'Malley just totally unaware what just happened in the house. Like, if he didn't hear that, like the meowing from Duchess and the three kittens, But Madame, for sure, heard the meow, and Edgar quickly, hides them in, like, that oven. Yeah, in an oven, in a sack. And Edgar putting on his coat, and Madame, stepping outside, calling for Duchess and the three kittens. And I like what Edgar did, like, allow me, madam. And he goes, here, kitty, 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 here, kitty, 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 kitty. I think that's pretty funny. And Rogue Fruit getting information from Duchess and the three kittens about Thomas O'Malley, getting his name, and even Marie, saying his whole name, Abraham de Lacy Gius, and, Duchess, saying, oh, never mind that, run, go get him. And so Rogue Fruit runs after O'Malley and warns O'Malley what just happened, telling him, Duchess, kittens, in trouble, Butler did it, and yeah, basically, because the butler did it. And so O'Malley tells Rogue Fruit to go get Scat Cat and his gang of alley cats, and Rogue Fruit going, alley cats? But I'm a mouse! And O'Malley assuring Rogue Fruit just to do it, and telling him to, to tell Scat Cat and the alley cats that O'Malley sent him, and, he won't have a bit of trouble. Because, yeah, O'Malley telling Rogue Fruit, just tell him O'Malley sent you and you won't have a bit of trouble. Yeah, as long as he tells the cats that O'Malley sent him. But, sure enough, Rogue Fruit immediately forgets his name, and his encounter, and when he first meets Scat Cat and the gang of alley cats, it doesn't go so well, and Scat Cat telling him, what's a little fella like you doing on our side of town? And Rogue Fruit telling them, I was sent here by a cat, I was sent here for help by a cat, and Scat Cat going, well, this is outrageous and crazy, and they think it's funny at first, and Rogue Fruit telling them, honest, he told me just to mention his name. And Thurl Ravenscroft voicing the Russian cat, going, so, start mentioning name, rodent, and, because he was in a bottle and just getting him out. That's what the Russian cat was doing. And Rogue Fruit trying to tell them O'Malley's name, like, he doesn't remember, and he's saying the name wrong, like, O2, O'Brien, O'Grady, and, Scat Cat telling him, strike one, strike two, and, Mousy, you just struck out. Any last words? And Rogue Fruit then shouts, why did I listen to that O'Malley cat? And yeah, he got the name right, and thus they know, who sent Rogue Fruit to get, for the Alley Cats to help. And yes, and Scat Cat going, hold it, cats, this little guy's on the level. And Rogue Fruit saying, you darn tootin', I'm on the level. And the one Italian cat, yeah, him saying to Rogue Fruit, oh, we didn't mean to roughen you, Squeaky, however he said it. And, fun fact about Vito Scotti, because he would go on to have a role in the first Godfather film. So, yeah, and of course, like, say, for Scatman Crowther as well, because, as I mentioned, he did Hello, Dolly, but he would also go on to be in two pretty good films of his career. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Yes, and we all know who he was in that film. And so, Rogue Fruit telling Scat Cat and the Alley Cats, O'Malley needs help, Duchess and Kittens are in trouble. And thus, they run to help out O'Malley and to rescue and help Duchess and the three kittens, and Scat Cat going, come on, cats, we gotta split. And Rogue Fruit saying, hey, wait for me, you don't know the way. And Rogue Fruit chasing after them, and we see this one French guy drinking wine. I think that's what it is, or yeah, I think it's wine. And he first sees the cats running, the Alley Cats, and he sees Rogue Fruit on their tail, and he's surprised to see that a mouse is chasing cats. And, well, he thinks that he's been drinking too much, and he pours it out. That was pretty funny right there. And thus the climax, because O'Malley sees that, well, Edgar's got them in a sack, and Edgar is going to ship Duchess and the three kittens to Timbuktu. Yeah, and, well, thus, O'Malley coming in to save the day, taking on Edgar, and Frou Frou helping out as well. Edgar, he has Duchess and the three kittens still in a sack and putting them in a chest. And, Edgar trying to get the chest out because the package truck will be here very shortly. And, yeah, and again, O'Malley taking on Edgar, and with Frou Frou helping out at times. And then, sure enough, Scat Cat, the Alley Cats, and Rogue Fruit finally show up. And it was pretty funny. Scat Cat and the Alley Cats just attacking, and they're all over Edgar. While Rogue Fruit, O'Malley tells him that, over there, they're in the trunk. And yeah, that's what it's called, a trunk. Well, trunk/chest, kind of the same thing. And Rogue Fruit trying to figure out the combination of unlocking the chest/trunk. And even at one point, because when Edgar was chasing around O'Malley, well, he had O'Malley cornered and throwing, a hay needle, I want to say, that kind of tool to get hay and such. He threw it at him, and it just got him stuck, in the corner. It was pretty funny, and O'Malley trying to get it off him. Of course he does, and it was pretty funny because Scat Cat and the Alley Cats, they're still attacking Edgar. And at one point, because with Rogue Fruit trying to figure out the combination, he shouts, "Quiet!" Apparently Edgar heard that. Well, I mean, yeah, Scat Cat and the Alley Cats did, but Edgar too. But hey, that's part of the funniness, and that was funny. Just them stopping for a moment and him trying to figure out the combination, and boom, he finally gets it unlocked, and they resume back, just fighting and such. And O'Malley trying to get Duchess and the three kittens out of there, but Edgar quick enough to close it on them, and him just saying, "You're going to Timbuktu if it's the last thing I do." And then sure enough, Scat Cat, the Alley Cats, along with Frou Frou, they start dropping things on him, like a giant, a piece of hay, and then throwing like a horseshoe or something on him, to put on horses, and he gets stuck in that, and dropping a bucket of water on him, and tying a rope to him, and basically launching him in the chest, thanks to Frou Frou and her back hooves. So he gets in the trunk/chest, and poor old Edgar, is sent to Timbuktu. Bye-bye, Edgar. And, Scat Cat, the Alley Cats, Rogue Fruit, and Frou Frou watching from a window. They're happy to see that he's going away, and Duchess, O'Malley, and the three kittens watching, and Talulu's once again doing his cat scare, whatever it's called, meow, and Duchess and O'Malley laughing, and, well, because he still wanted to do it to scare off Edgar, so yeah. And the epilogue to the Aristocats, all is now okay, all goes well, and Madame is just totally unaware what really happened to Edgar. And even like O'Malley and Duchess, they give each other these looks because of what Madame said about Edgar, yeah. And we once again see George there, and yeah, O'Malley is now accepted in the family and now becoming like the official, like, man of the house, that being the male cat of the house, and what Madame said. And of course, yeah, O'Malley and Duchess, they finally get together, and O'Malley now becoming the official father to the three kittens. And Madame taking their picture and, telling them, saying to them, say cheese, and they do smile, and even Rogue Fruit steps out at one point and says, did somebody say cheese? No, not that cheese, Rogue Fruit. And then Madame has the cats go downstairs because there's a surprise waiting for them, and we then start to hear music. George hears it as well, and he starts getting into it and wondering what that music is and where it's coming from, and Madame tells George that it's more cats downstairs, and they're the start of her new foundation. And George asks, what foundation? And Madame's response, she says, my home for all the alley cats of Paris. And yep, her new foundation for every single cat in Paris, France, living in her house. Yeah, what a great lady she is and how much she loves cats. Yeah. And of course, we see all of the cats from O'Malley, Duchess, the three kittens, and the alley cats. They're all dancing and, a rendition of Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and Rogue Fruit being there, and he's conducting, and we even see Frou Frou joining in, and she sings a little bit of the song, and Frou Frou's singing voice is Ruth Buzzy. Yeah, I didn't know that, for a long time, and when watching the movie, so that was pretty cool. Ruth Buzzy, she's got a pretty good singing voice. And then after seeing Frou Frou and her singing, we then see a couple, the very few last characters who we see on screen. Uncle Waldo, Abigail, and Amelia, we once again see all three geeses, and, they're joining in, and Uncle Waldo singing a little bit of the song. And then the last two characters we see are the two dogs, Napoleon and Lafayette. Like, where did they come from, and are they there? I mean, well, the movie never questions it, and the same goes for Uncle Waldo, Abigail, and Amelia. I mean, they're just there, for the finale. No big deal. It's not a problem. And Lafayette and Napoleon, they howl to it, and as it finishes, and they get the last bit of dialogue where Lafayette says, and as he scratches his neck, hey, Napoleon, that sounds like the end. And Napoleon saying, wait a minute, I'm the leader. I'll say when it's the end. And the words the end show up and kind of hit Napoleon, and he says, it's the end. And last bit of music plays, taking us off, and we hear Talulu's saying, oh yeah, and boom, that's how the movie ends. A great way to end the Aristocats. Okay, now let's come to the songs in the Aristocats. And, there aren't that many songs in this film. We, of course, have the main title song, the Aristocats, as I said, and being sung by the late legendary French singer, Maurice Chevalier. And there's Scales and Paragaios, if I'm saying that last word right. The song that was sung by Marie Berlioz, Duchess, and Toulouse, when Berlioz was playing piano and Toulouse was still painting, and he got some paint on the piano. That was pretty funny. And right before the song finishes, like, Toulouse and Berlioz having a piano duo war, technically, you know. And of course, the Thomas O'Malley cat song number, that was pretty good. Everybody wants to be a cat, of course. Again, like, that being a memorable song number in the Aristocats, because who doesn't love the song Everybody Wants to Be a Cat? Yeah. So dang catchy, and, you know, being sung by Scatman Crothers, Ava Gabor, and Phil Harris, and, you know, Thurl Ravenscroft, need I go on, and Paul Winchell as the Chinese cat, you know, hang high hung funk ku young, and, you know, fortune cookies always wrong. Yeah, that song number was good, and when it's reprised at the end, yeah, that was good too. Yeah, all the song numbers in the Aristocats, really good ones. In fact, in the album version, there was one song, which being called She Never Felt Alone, and that was during when Duchess was first talking to O'Malley about, well, Madame. So yeah, there's that song number. The Aristocats, just what a memorable, underrated Disney animated feature film, you know, a masterpiece / gem. Just everything about the Aristocats, just really good. The storytelling, the characters, the songs, the funny moments, and the emotional moments, just everything to the Aristocats. Fantastic, memorable, just, yeah, that's all I need to say. And I'm giving the Aristocats 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for the Aristocats. And what about you guys? What did you think of the Aristocats itself? Like, was it one of those classic Disney animated feature films you grew up watching so many times, like me? Just, yeah, like the storytelling and some of the best characters in this film. Just, yeah, everything about the Aristocats and what I've said. And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Aristocats. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And stay tuned later this week, because the next film I'm going to be reviewing is another animated feature film, this time being computer animated, and it comes straight from DreamWorks. And to best describe it, well, let's just say it's all about training your dragons. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Take care, and peace out.